And we're live with the one and only Norm Farrar. Oh my goodness. Hi, Norm.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. It's so good to see your amazing, beautiful, smiley energy face. I just love being around you because your positivity, it just shines through the screen, through everything. And it's just really great to get to spend a few minutes here with you since we're going to keep this one kind of short and sweet. What we're doing right now, Norm, is we're about to make an announcement of something that nobody knows yet. Are you ready
What?
for this announcement,
I'm
guys?
where I'm ready.
Okay. Norm is coming to China Magic,
Yes.
which is the biggest deal ever. And we're about to explain why. So, my favorite thing in the whole world is connecting with brilliant people, being able to bring them together, and through that collective brain power and contribution, magical things happen. Norm, you happen to be one of my faves. I met you when you had done your first presentation at an Amazon event, and
Yes.
that was many years ago. And you were talking about brand in a way that nobody was talking about it at the time. And I could really tell that you were the real thing, full of knowledge, tons of experience, but also full of heart, which is my absolute favorite combo in this entire world. So, would you mind telling the world a bit about you and your background?
Oh boy. Reader's Digest, here we come. Okay. All right. So, first of all, I go back. I'm an old guy with a beard, as you can tell, and started this journey actually in high school. I started as an entrepreneur with four other guys, or three other guys, with a rock promotion business. But, anyways, fast forward, paid some of my way through college with a video company, then ended up just getting into the not the e-com business, but the promotional marketing business. And I think the biggest thing that I've done back then, it was a hyper growth company, and we had to figure out what was going on because we had so much stress and so much pressure. The company was about to fall apart, even though it was really, really successful. So I learned two things. First of all, systems and automation through Michael Gerber and the academy, the eMyth Academy. So it wasn't the book; it was the academy. And then I also learned about vertical integration and how you can control companies, buying your competition, or buying companies that would help you along the way. So for us, promo business was embroidery screen. We bought a courier company. We bought a fulfillment center, and we started doing things differently and perception. So this is where it all started, Athena, was we had to sell a coffee cup or a t-shirt. Everybody else was selling for the exact same price. And we had to figure out how we can do it, how we could do it better. So the first thing we did, come up with a tagline, on time, every time, exactly as you ordered it, and then repackaged everything, paid like we started dealing with Fortune fives, and they paid through the nose for it. We were making tons of money, but we made sure that we stuck to that. So just going forward, got into e-commerce back in the 90s through a Fortune 500 company, and then other Fortune 5 saw it. Other people started reaching out, started growing from there, which led into SEO. My father contacted me and said, we were already sourcing in China back in the 90s. And my father came up to me and said, hey, if you're interested, let's start this import export business. And it's going to start in Auburn, Maine, but ended up we bought two factories in Taiwan. And then we started getting into business and specialty packaging. Anyways, like I told you, this is Reader's Digest. Then we got to know that business really well. We ended up selling the business, and then I got into some other things for a while. It was all over. I got into an incubator in Tampa, and had about 7 or 8 really cool tech projects that were on the go, and ended up. A friend called me and said, "Hey, you want to come to an Amazon thing?" It was ASM3, I believe, and went out there. I overheard a doctor talking to somebody, a group of people, saying that they rather stick to what they were doing. The first day was really cool, like they understood it, but the part about the marketing they had no idea about. And I just overheard this, and they said, if I could only beat the Standard & Poor's, the S&P. And I interrupted the conversation and I said, I can do this. I can guarantee I can do that. And I got my first managed brand company that I grew for this guy. And that's how the business started. And then I started buying up businesses along the way. So that's me.
Wow.
And I have a podcast.
And lunch with Norm, which I can't wait. We've had real life lunch with Norm before, which is some of my fave, but I can't wait to be on the Lunch with Norm podcast soon, which will be a lot of fun. So that's an amazing history. Talk to me about what you consider to be your strongest superpowers.
Probably it's networking. I think I have a great network like you. You're a networker and you bring people together in masses, and you've done that for a great job ever since I've known you. But I'm the same way. I used to be part of what used to be called YEO, and that was my first real true networking group. But I just got out there and I started meeting people. I started meeting like top people in Fortune 500 companies and sports teams and the entertainment industry. And then it just led from there. Like, one of the things I've always found is that, and this was especially in Hawaii, you don't know who you're sitting beside in a bar. I don't drink, but in a bar. And that person usually has sandals, shirt, and a t-shirt and shorts on, probably not even a watch. And you don't know who that person is. And I met one of my best friends there, and it ends up he's one of the biggest people, well-known people in the world right now. And it just turns out talking in a bar.
Incredible.
And that's what I like. And it's, you can never take anybody just, I never put a label on anybody. I go up, I talk to them. I know when we were buying our courier company, we went into a Chevrolet or a Chrysler dealer, and we were always in suits talking back in the day to our customers, but we'd always just hang out casual, t-shirts and jeans. I kind of looked a little scruffy probably once in a while. Went in this car dealer. We were going to be buying 4 or 5 new vans for the courier company. Nobody would talk to us. Not a person, single person. We were walking out, and this older guy, much older than me, came over and said, "Hey, can I help you?" And we ended up giving him the business because people were looking at us and judging us, and you can't do that. And everybody's got something. Everybody's got something. And it's just finding out what that is. And what I find is I'm in the, I used to, I think I rethought, I had to rethink the way that I was networking, because I'd always be asking like, "Oh, this is so-and-so. Oh, you have," and now I turned it around and I have a 100% give to get. So I don't care if people ask me questions. I try not to approach that way. I give free content. I give, like, you'll never hear me on the show talk about what I do, or for the most part, what I do. We don't pitch. We don't pitch. In my presentations, you saw at your workshops, I don't pitch. You came up to me and said, "Pitch." So,
Right.
but I just think that's probably my biggest superpower. Plus, I know a lot of stuff. I
Yeah.
know I got although I went to college, I dropped out of college my last semester, but anyways, I have street smart. And
Yes.
I've done it all. I have been kicked between the legs harder than most people. I've had to get up several times, and had major failures, major failures. But at the same time, those failures, I call it fail to succeed. I learned from it, and that's where I think I can teach people. And because I have a wide variety of knowledge in the not only e-com, Amazon, but content marketing on the logistical and sourcing side. I've been doing it since the 90s. So
Totally.
yeah, just people ask questions, and hopefully, if I don't know the answer, I fake it. No, I'll just pass it on to somebody.
I love that. So Norm, when we were in Toronto,
Yep.
you blew people's minds. You really covered a lot of different topics. And that's one of the things I'd love to kind of give people a taste of, because we've invited you to come to China Magic. You're absolutely a genius. You were talking to people just about specific codes. You've got a service that you help people with, and you were in the room, like helping people save like tens of thousands of dollars just with one little tweak on their sourcing. You were talking about brand and influencers and PR and efficiency and just pretty much anything. Like, you were on a panel and people would ask a question and you would just completely change their mind on their own, their perspective, their mindset on things in a way that very few people have that impact and that talent. And you are incredibly humble and super sweet. And I think that that's a very charming Canadian thing about you, which is lovely. But you're an absolute badass. And I want you to tell these guys, why are you coming to China? What do you feel the value of that is for them? And what are some of the topics that you feel that you can bring through as one of our top mentors that are going to be coming by? Because not only do I want them to know about the trip and kind of what we're going to do there, but you're going to be coming to San Diego. You're going to be part of our network. Like, you're one of my most favorite people when it comes to just your depth of knowledge of all these different things. And I think a lot of that comes from your experience, and it just comes from your unique take on this industry. Again, you were talking, I think that was 5 years ago, about things that people are just catching on to now in terms of brand. And if people were actually listening to what you're saying back then about, niche and perspective on, packaging and the way that you communicate to certain audiences, and, you were talking about all that way before everybody else was catching on to it, right? Like, really, kudos to you. Because then later on, when it became like a must, everyone's like, oh man, normally knew what he was talking about, years before everyone else was doing it. So I'd love, that was a lot of things to ask you, but let's talk about the impact that you can have when it comes to someone, when it comes to China.
Well, going right back to that talk that we met at, and that is being able to double your profit without doing much work. You have to look at your product and your competitors a little bit differently. And people think, and I have to be careful when I say that, because it's hype. It's hype. It's hype. This is all hype. No, it's not. It's actionable, and you can do this. And this is something that I think, even though it's a few years old, I can bring out, dust it off, and talk to people about, plus add some newer things about packaging, specialty packaging, driving traffic, and just different ways that you really have to compete with Amazon right now. And one of the areas that we talked about in Toronto was the 3 tiers, understanding those 3 tiers and where you want to be and how you can beat or get into each one of those tiers. Top tier, you make the most money, you might have less traffic. Middle tier is average, but how do you beat everybody? And for me, like, data analysis is not my that's not my strength. I have people do that for me. Mine is aesthetics and branding. And so tied in with the data wins. But if you tie in all that other stuff, you're going to kill it. And I can't guarantee it, but I almost can, that if you just follow a couple of steps, you can at least increase your profitability by at least 25%, but I really can't see why you couldn't double it. Really. Now, a lot of people say, sourcing is where you make up your profit. And that's true. You can make up a lot of money and make a lot of profit there, but there's so many other elements. And one might be 1% here, 0.5% here, 30% there. And I'm really talking 30%. But I have a case, and you saw it, I can talk about it later, where we took a product from $49 up to $124, and then took the same product, made it look a little different, and started selling it at $224. And the cost of it was 16. And I'll talk about that. But there's other things that people are not talking about. We had a workshop on this. Google Business Profile. People are not doing it. 1.01% of brands are using Google Business Profile, and it is your best friend. period.
Love
Nobody's
it.
using it. And so that's something. And then just general questions. Like if people are interested in any aspect of business, like I've gone through it all. So talking about cash flow or how to protect your assets, all these things. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an accountant, but I know, how to run a business, get a business up and started, how to start a brand. But the other thing that I think, and I was kind of surprised that when we were talking in Toronto, and I think this is something that I can talk like ad nauseum, and that's time management. So being able to structure a day, being able to multitask. People ask me about the podcast. I have no clue who's coming on my podcast. I have no clue who we've talked to. I don't have no clue who we've done outreach for. That's why I had to ask you. Have we ever asked you for it? Because I don't know. And I only know who's coming on when I turn on my computer to get on the podcast. And that's when it starts. Like we start there. And because I have a team that can do that, how can I have these other companies? I hire good people. Maybe that's another topic. How do you hire good people? There's good VA companies out there, but how do you go through the interview process if you want to do it on your own? Lots of different things we can talk about.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And the thing is, like, I remember we were in Toronto and we went through that first day and it was incredible. And then the next day we had this brunch and you were going over the Google presentation that absolutely blew all of our minds. And then, we were getting some last Q&A and these people were just like, they could not get enough. Like that brunch couldn't, like they wanted to go into like dinner and all night. Like they would have had you there forever just because you were just that brilliant. And it was so nice to see just the impact that you've had. I mean, we've had such amazing feedback. So it really is an honor that you're willing to go all the way to China for us. And China Magic is such an iconic event. It has so much history and it's really where we figured out so much about, our guys, like learning about, what they needed and how mentorship can really fast forward their business. Like I didn't understand the power of that until we went to China and we actually had a whole 10 days, right? Because even our events, which are longer and we do a lot of hands-on workshopping, you're still not together for 10 days in a foreign location, right? And for us, like efficiency wise, maybe it doesn't make sense to be, sending our guys out all the way to China to take people around and all that. But what I was noticing, and Dan and I talked a lot about this, is out of our Titans, the ones that have succeeded like tremendously and the ones that are like still in our network 4.5 years later, a lot of these guys came with us to China Magic. And there was a few elements to it. I think one is, the actual sourcing itself, being able to see and to take this product and like change it on the spot. Because one of the things that I think will be so brilliant, Norm, is you're going to talk about packaging and you're going to talk about creating like a premium product or how to differentiate in a middle tier and different things like that. But what I love is they can literally the next day go in the fair
Right.
and talk directly to the suppliers and say, hey, how can I make this tall and redo it this way and change the color here? And I mean, how much time and energy does it take to do that when you're trying to do it from home? And you've got to, go back and forth with the samples and that kind of thing. Like just the efficiency of being there in person is fascinating. And I can't wait to have the combo of you and Kian, just so you know. Because one thing that was really interesting that we talked about on the one with Kian is we were talking about a backpack and how when I went back to school shopping with my 12-year-old, he really wanted this phone charger. Like that was the thing, right? Like if you have a phone charger in your backpack, somehow that makes you like extra cool, right? And so I paid like an extra $30 for this backpack only because it had that little charging unit. And I thought, hey, that's a way to kind of make your product that much more premium. And I was telling Kian that example, and Kian says, yes. However, if you stitch a pocket this way to put the battery charger in the pocket, that costs 10 cents. Whereas this whole other thing might cost, $5, $10 or whatever it is to kind of alter the backpack. And just watching his brain, the way that it operates, just because he's such a savant at sourcing, and then having you there with all your PR, marketing, branding experience. I mean, these people are going to be in a moment of time surrounded by some of the most brilliant human beings I've ever met. And I've met a lot of freaking human beings. So I'm just so excited, like so excited for the people in that room, because it's that I feel is going to make or break their business. It's that can take like a sort of very average brand and make it into something that can compete, that can have that profitability. Because you see too many people still on the Me Too bandwagon.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I
You're
mean,
just not going to do it.
I'm going to tell you, like, even in our top tier group where guys are doing millions of dollars, you still see people clueless on sourcing, clueless on, negotiating their cash terms. They're still doing the Me Too thing. They're riding the wave of their success from before. But Amazon changes a few things, and even the way that it's changing, like the review percentage and things like that right now, a lot of these guys that really depended on that, it can flip in a second. And if you don't have that beautiful premium marketing, I mean, it doesn't have to be a very high cost product, but if you don't have that thing that's like a very high quality product that really stands for itself, and they flip a few things on you with Amazon, you're kind of on a house of cards, is what I've been seeing. What
Yeah.
do you think about that?
I agree 100%. So you're going to have all these people that are going to be out there. I don't even know all of them, but I know the quality of people that you put together. And if you could tap in to these people who are not running away, it's not like some of these events where they go and hide. Our goal, at least my goal, is if I'm out there for whatever time period it is, a week, to go out and help people with their branding. So during the day you do what you do, and then when we come back and there's a mastermind and you're talking, that's what we're talking about. So there's no hiding in any green room or anything like that. That's what I like. And the other thing, there's going to be the little things that come up. Kevin King and I, we talk about sitting around the campfire. So most of the time, it's not the actual event when you're in or doing the Canton Fair. It's when you come back and you're sitting around the campfire and you're just talking. It might be talking over a drink. It might be talking over a bite to eat. And it's, oh, I didn't know you could do that. Oh, wow. And it could be a personal thing. It could be something about business. Anyways, that's where the other gold nuggets come up that people don't realize. And I think you're frozen, Athena. Yep. So I'm going to take over as host for the next couple of seconds, unless I'm frozen. Does anybody have any questions? If not, I'll just sit here and start talking about anything. Soon I'll go into the fetal position. And yes, now I will go into the fetal position because I'm on my own. So I see that there's a few. Oh, there we go.
Oh my God, that was scary. I was like, Norm's like on
Oh,
this
for you?
perfect moment. But yeah, sorry about that. So you were saying?
So I was saying that one of the most important things that come out of these type of events are not finding your new product. It's sitting around the campfire, as Kevin and I say, and it's over a drink, breaking bread. People don't realize how important breaking bread is. And you learn about people's families, you learn about people, you learn who to like. Sometimes you clash, but you all of a sudden you start to see this network. You learn about business, you learn about, it could be failure and how to overcome it. But it's not at the event that you learn that, it's breaking bread. And that's where, when you have an event like this and you're coming back and you're having drinks or you're having a workshop, that's all breaking bread. That's worth 10 times the amount of the cost of the trip.
I agree 1,000,000%. I love that so much. And what's interesting is I also see that with the suppliers.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and sometimes people have a disconnect when it comes to like building relationships with suppliers. And I think that Kian has really helped me and a lot of people see just how special and how important that can be, to where you go so much deeper than anyone has ever gone before as a Westerner when it comes to just really showing up and really wanting to know about that person, their history, their family, their goals, their purposes, their all the things. Because when you can break bread, as you were saying, with the person that is in charge of developing the products that make up your business, when things are not going so well, they're going to be at your side. When there's a new potential product that could really be amazing for your brand, who's the first one they're going to call? And if there's some competitor trying to come in and do something similar, what is their reaction going to be to that? And the stories that we have of people who have really actual full relationships, partnerships with their suppliers, it's night and day. And when we're dealing with products, like, it's so funny, the disconnect. Like, you're in the product industry, you're creating products that then serve an audience, that they then receive the product, they have to like that product. I mean, this is sort of what we're doing, right? So much of that starts with that initial relationship. And so I can't wait to see you bring through your magic, Kian bring through his magic, and then every single person in that room. I mean, we have a whole bunch of amazing mentors, celebrity type mentors, the ones that you see on the stage. I mean, you are someone who's very sought after. You've got an amazing podcast, you're on stages around the world, and yet you're going to be there having, a cup of tea or a coffee, hanging out, talking about stuff. I mean, there's no price you can put on that. And that is the environment that I try to create, because it's the environment that I feel creates the most impact on people in ways they would never imagine, in business, in life, in friendships, in this journey we call entrepreneurship. So anyway, if there's anyone that represents all the things that I absolutely adore and advocate for, it's you, Norm. So I'm so excited about this. Like it almost makes me tear up on how proud I am to see that people like yourself are willing to come on a trip like this and give your heart to these people to help them to achieve amazing things. Because you don't need to do that. You own so many businesses. In fact, I was like, hey, Norm, can you send me a list of all the cool stuff you do? And it was like on and on and on and on. And people need to know about these amazing services, by the way. I am so excited to connect my Titans. Like, they have no idea the ninja that you are and all the cool stuff that you can do for their businesses. So anyway.
I do have a really quick story about not China, but Taiwan. We had our company, before we bought any companies, we went over and we were looking at some EVA, which is a foam. So we're going out to these manufacturers all over the island. And before you did any business back then, any business, we would go into the office. The interpreter would come in with us. My brother and I would sit down, and it would be a talk about your family. Where are you from? Blah, blah, blah. You did not talk any business, zero business, not one word, until they invited you back. And in fact, the one foam company we went to, my brother and I went in, and they were very cold towards us. And we thought, okay, this company doesn't want our business. And what had happened? My brother's name's Steve. And they had heard that a guy from the U.S., my brother lived in the States, Steve from the U.S. had not paid a bill. And because his name was Steve, they thought it was him. And yeah, because his name was Steve.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's how tight the community was. But anyways, we told them that that's not the case. And everything worked out. But yeah, it's just a different environment, but it still goes. What I'm saying here is that family piece is exactly the same it is, but it's just a higher level of business now. Now they've got the systems in place. But at the end of the day, if you go and you meet your supplier, exactly like you were saying, you're doing way more than anybody else is. It's better than an email.
100%. I love that so much. And the amount of wild, fun stories we have
Yeah.
in China where we get invited to these things. And one time we were invited by the governor to come and do a presentation for a whole bunch of factory owners. So it was us Amazon crazies and then just an ocean of these guys who own factories. And they didn't tell us we were doing this presentation until we showed up. And so Dan and I were like, putting this thing together, like literally on the spot. Like I was using my phone to tether, so his laptop, and then it was so wild. And but we got up there and they loved it. They just loved to hear what we needed, and how we could be served better in terms of, our businesses. And then it was so funny because we did karaoke in a room of like 300 people, and I can't sing to save my life. So thank God we have Samantha Elkin, who is an actress, and she started doing Backstreet Boys, and the entire place went wild. And then, it was just like this really fun adventure, and we were all, having toasts, and it's just so amazing. You never know who you're going to meet and what's going to happen. But like by the end of it, like they just loved us, and so many people connected with great suppliers in that moment. And I don't know, just the stories and the adventures that we've had. So I really believe that like if you want to do something right, you need to go all in, and you need to give it that passion and that excitement, and try to be as professional as you can about things. And I really feel like if you want to play the long game when it comes to Amazon, you've got to do a lot of things that you're so much of an advocate, having those systems in place, having, your branding in place, like really knowing all these things. But sourcing to me is just such a huge part of it. And to be fair, I wasn't even talking much about it before during COVID because I didn't want to upset people. But there was like a good, year and a half, 2 years where we weren't able to do that. And it shows. Like it really shows. And when people went back in April, oh my gosh, like we ourselves went for our brands and we were able to negotiate some things that we did not accomplish. And we're really good at this. Like we know about this stuff. We teach
Yeah.
this stuff, right? And we still couldn't get to a place of, what we wanted until we went there and we broke bread and we did it genuinely. And by the end of it, it was just so awesome. So anyway, I adore you and can interview for like the entire year and afternoon and the rest of our lives because you're that brilliant. But we'll save this magical brain of yours for a later time. I want to interview you. I'm going to be doing my podcast. So I want to do Breakthrough with Athena and get like deeper into all these cool history of the man behind the beard. I think that's what we're going to call it. The man behind the
The
beard.
man behind the beard.
I think that's the title.
So that's either Gandalf, the Travelocity gnome, Santa sometimes.
Oh, well, I just can't wait to expose people to all of this magical stuff. So again, thank you for being a part of our lives, our world, and just, sharing. Let me ask you a question, Norm. I've actually
Yep.
never asked you this. What makes you want to give as much as you do? What motivates you to want to, because I see you, whether whatever event or little thing or lunch, like you always show up and you give people so much. And why?
I think it was a trait carried over from my father. Father was a very successful entrepreneur, and he could just talk to people and share, and and I think I just got that from him. There's no driving reason behind it. I like sharing with people. I like helping them out, and at the end of the day, it comes back tenfold. So it's a little bit selfish. So but it's a give to get mentality, and I
I
think a
love
lot
that.
of entrepreneurs have to do that. There's a lot of um, learning that should be done, and part of it is if you give, it always comes back, and mysteriously, it always comes back somewhere somehow.
I love that. I already knew that was the case, but I just was curious what your answer was going to be because I just, you can sense when people are being super genuine and it's just so obvious because I just was watching you like in Toronto, and people would come up to you and be like, "Hey Norm," and you'd be like, "Yeah," but like just so much heart. So yeah, it's definitely real, guys. It's the man behind the beard. It's all real. So anyway, Thank you again, my darling. It is our huge honor to have you come into China. It's a big announcement. Nobody knew this until our little live just now. And we're going to be doing a lot more stuff. We should talk about some of the cool topics and things. And we'll be having you stop by our network so that people can connect with you, which is great. But any last words before we say goodbye to all the beautiful humans watching us?
Just stay with it. I know that Amazon can throw you curveballs, but I can tell you one thing: resilience is the key factor, and also knowledge. So whether you come out to China Magic or not, make sure you participate in masterminds, get all the information that you can, and hopefully we see you in China.
I love that. So, guys, if you're interested in coming with us to China Magic, we don't know what holds in April and the next one. So, if you want to connect with people like Norm, like Kian, like Leiden, like Georgie, and all the fabulous people that are coming on our trip, then you need to go to ChinaMagicTrip.com, book a call one-on-one with us. We don't even have a payment link. We like to have real life conversations with you, make sure this is the right fit for you and for us, and that this is a thing that's going to really improve the rest of your journey as an entrepreneur. So you can go on there, learn more, and we look forward to the next adventure. Thank you, Norm. You're the best. And we'll see you next time. Thanks,
All right.
guys.
See you later.
Bye.